pretty much all the introduction. So we're going into a 3-inch line behind the washer and dryer here. You have a little cutout, there's a water access, and a 3-inch cast iron clean out. My objective today is to take the main line and ensure proper flow for waste and water getting out to the city sewer. Cast iron's in great shape. Very little rusting going on. Not seeing any buildup, even though we haven't passed the kitchen yet. Usually we find a bunch of gunky stuff right back here, but very clean. And that heat in the line is why some of that black spot keeps getting bigger and smaller. So I'm starting that washer and dryer. Cast iron a little hot. Well, you guys are kind of lucking out, really, because cast iron lines are not ever that clean. And we are already to the clay. So, is there a bathroom down here?
Yes.
Do you mind flushing the toilet for me? Thank you so much.
So how are they keeping it that clean?
By cautioning what they put down. They don't use Drano, they don't put grease down, they don't put paper towels down. And it looks to me like it's just a heck of a location where the sewer line was dug in.
Oh.
Because, I'll explain that in just a second. Once the water head catches up, there it goes. Okay, so. I mean, that's very little rusting for the water level here. So this line, and this line right here is going to be the water level line. Which means they're running 3 or 4 or 5 pictures at a time. It's as high as it gets. Everything above that's never being used. Great news. Okay. This transition is going to be the first 2 points I like to look at very carefully. Is when they build these neighborhoods, they do the construction in 3 different times. They build the streets from the foundation, then they connect A to C, and hopefully debris soil will allow that to settle correctly. It's not so common. So this has no movement, it has no cracking, no leaking, and no infiltrations. Past all 4 of these, okay? You do have, what, a whopping 2 roots? I'll take that. So, I don't see that becoming a problem at all. That white stuff on the top of the line, it's going to be subsets. So don't worry about that. It's just... And a little bit of roots right there. So they must have just had this clean, because you can tell. Look at all those lines on the top of the sewer. So they just had this thing very properly cleaned. Now, clay lines, they do not screw together, they do not glue together. They are male-to-female connections. They put a mortar on that to hold it. So that right there, that's not an offset. What that is a male-to-female connection, backed out, and then deflected to get a certain slope or direction faced, which is why the roots come in. Must have had a back up here. Look at that. So this, when it backs up, that's where it happens, is right here. All the stuff on the top of the line, and they got a decent amount of roots. It's going to take at least 12 months to clog up. And behind it even looks in good shape. So
those roots right there will take 12 months?
Yeah. Even though it looked like a lot, it was just a couple of them dangling down. I mean, you got to imagine that this camera is showing a view that's that big.
Right.
So it's exaggerating everything. And the way they were dangling down, you're going to have to get down, kind of bunch up and knot up. You don't want to cut too often, because then you pretty much, if you cut a wimpy root, it's because it's a little juicy, but you're not really cutting it, you're more or less just slicing it. And then with that blade, you're just sticking it to the sidewall. So then instead of growing in a knot, it's growing down your sewer line. So you don't want to cut too often.
Okay.
You want to cut when it's needed.
So how do we go down there and cut?
The auger guy.
Oh, okay. The auger guy comes out. Okay.
We gotta send a little guy down there, and he comes down with
I
scissors.
know.
Yeah. I was gonna say, wow.
It's a trademark.
Yeah.
So that water that we flushed, we don't see any evidence of it. So obviously everything you're putting down is getting all the way out.
Okay.
Sewer lines are meant to move waste, not collect it.
Okay.
And your line has was having a problem. Usually I'm the bad guy on this one, and this is great. So that whole story you had earlier is kind of not true. Because underground, really, what you got to worry about.
Don't
And
worry,
it
something
looks
else will go wrong.
Great.
Stop.
Yeah, I bet you have to clean this line every 2 to 3 years, at best. Oh, hey, look, we have a pressure crank. It has nothing to do with anything, though. We don't know if that was done yesterday or when it was installed. Doesn't show movement, doesn't show anything wrong with the integrity of the line. It's just there because they deflected the line. So, when I found a flaw, hey, something normal in a cast iron around here instead of being well connected and great material. Water line hasn't moved at all. I don't know if you guys have noticed that.
Yeah, no.
It's staying very low within the line, and here is your city sewer. This is going to be the most important part of the sewer, and this is really what you're paying for today. Is right
Fingers crossed.
yonder. That's about as good as it gets. So I tapped into the top right corner, or the top left corner of that city sewer. They 45'd into it, so more or less